might actually make some people a little more pissed off than if it were just a blank wall. But I do think there is something to the transformation of. These are artists. They're looking for outlets. Can you give them an outlet legally? In Minneapolis, they actually spend some of their graffiti abatement program money on helping train artists who've been busted, saying, if you really want to create art, we're going to help you do that and do it in a legitimate way. So it is a really interesting aspect to what's going on. This is a subculture that is worldwide, and it is growing. And you can't get rid of it, number one, but you can help steer that creativity at the younger age so that people feel like they have an outlet for their creative expression instead of feel frustrated and, you know, there's a blank wall. I could do this. Now, you're never going to take away that thrill of doing something under the radar. So you can create, you know, legal walls, but how many of those artists are going to go there? So again, it is a really interesting challenge. There isn't one answer, but I do think it has to do with education and giving training and recognizing the value of the creativity in those individuals. Yes.
Beyond a percent for art program, how might a city like Fargo fund such a program?
I can give you 20 different examples of funding mechanisms for funding public art or arts in general. And public art, you know, for me, it is a subset of the arts development as a whole, okay? It doesn't replace it. But it is something of a cultural revolution, I think, that having artists work on the street where it's accessible is kind of an audience development tool and has much more visibility than the art in the traditional venues. But there's a hotel motel tax, there's a billboard tax, there's bartering with artists. There's a lot of examples, and I'm glad to read off a bunch if you like. I have some lists with me. But there isn't one way to do this. There's lots of ways. And you shouldn't just come up with one strategy. You should have lots of them. There's certainly the, when they have a small area plan with business districts, where building owners, property owners chip in, beautification districts, right? They're paying above and beyond for beautification of their area. That's another form of income. That's a good question, and they're all over the place, from my experience, from the mayor's office to the city manager, parks department, public works, and in some cases there'll be a separate, you know, Department of Cultural Affairs, and some cities don't have them at all. St. Paul doesn't have an arts commission or a Department of Cultural Affairs. They have an arts development manager who works out of the mayor's office, but they have a partnership with a nonprofit group called Public Art St. Paul. Again, a public-private partnership is possible. Scottsdale Public Art in Arizona is a nonprofit. The Tucson Pima Arts Council is a nonprofit that works in conjunction with the city, and what they have then is the opportunity to raise grant monies outside of city allocations or state funding. So private gifts, private donations. I've heard of a golf tax, you know. Entertainment tax. For every penny, you know, or every dollar you spend at a movie theater, a penny goes towards an art fund. Doesn't sound like much, but it adds up. What about a parking garage? City parking ramp. A penny out of every dollar over a year, it would really add up.
One question I had, you mentioned obviously that public art funding for it is tighter and tighter. I guess that's probably the easy thing to see. Do you have any stats or any data that might show that actually maintaining a public art program actually encourages economic development or shows the ties that it actually is strong? It's my sense that
It's my sense too. Unfortunately, there isn't any really hard evidence or really scientific studies, But ask yourself, what are your favorite cities that you want to go to? Why would you go there? If they didn't have any art in them, my guess is they wouldn't be in your top 10 anyway. And arts, just using the word art, I have to say, is probably a bad idea to begin with. Because as soon as people hear that word art, they think frill. They think, that's for an elitist audience. And we may be better off just getting away from the word art altogether. Who's against creativity? Who's against innovation? Who's against community cultural development? Why not just say, instead of an arts commission, you're going to have a community cultural development department? And who wants to vote against that? Do you know what I mean? It's partly because of the verbiage, the vocabulary. People don't have the same notion of what art is. If any one of you would say something different. And public art, even worse. What is that? Well, if you're in Bemidji, it's Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox, right? But really, the more we're aware of the possibilities, this is why I like to show slides. People go, I didn't know we could do that. Did you know fireworks was public art? You maybe don't call it that, but I challenge you, if it's not public art, what is it? Pyrotechnics is an art form that goes back millennia. We just don't call it public art. We never get funding for it. Pyrotechnics. Fireworks displays are a performance event we go to. We all go ooh and ah. There's a lot of money spent on fireworks. You probably know this too. Who pays for that? It's interesting though, if you just turn that money with the money spent in Minneapolis on fireworks, I could do a year-round public art program, I swear. Most people would say I'd rather have the fireworks, but
what can you recommend for artists who may not have worked in the public realm, done outdoor sculpture, let's say, that needs to withstand certain things and won't need a studio, and most art departments don't teach public art, so artists have to kind of learn this on their own.
yeah, I think it's starting to change. I mean, I'm seeing a few programs, certainly courses being taught, and about a handful of degree programs around the country, but I think it's going to grow. And I think with tools like Public Art Review Online, it'll grow faster. The more tools the teachers have, the more prepared they can make their students in terms of, well, if I went to school at K through 12, I never even heard of public art or that was a job. But likewise, I don't even hear the word design in K through 12. And yet, here I am sitting in a chair that somebody designed, in a building that somebody designed, right? I never even heard that was an option for me to explore. This is one of the huge reasons I'm in this field, is I would like to see the educational system change. Our grant program for emerging artists is about helping people get that first project done where nobody else would otherwise give them a chance. And oftentimes it's artists who've already gotten out of school and they've realized they can't make a living selling their art in the marketplace, which is about, I think, 2% of all the artists in the world. And yet artists have a valuable resource. They're creative problem solvers. They should be at every table. Neighborhood development, city council. There should be mayors who are artists. There probably are mayors who are artists. They are creative problem solvers. They wouldn't have gotten that job in the first place. They had a big problem to solve. How am I going to get elected? Now, how do we bring the creativity out of people, and how do we help them realize their creativity in the public realm? These are really good questions. I find it's useful to find out what other artists are doing, work with artists as an apprentice, or learn by doing, certainly. Through the hands-on experience, you can learn a whole lot. Yes, there are. Yes, Public Artists Forum as a Yahoo listserv group.
What is it?
Public Artists Forum is a Yahoo group. There's also the Public Art Network through Americans for the Arts. It has what's called Public Art Network PAN listserv, and it's mainly for people who are running public art programs because they also have the same problem. How do you do this new contract with the copyright laws? And then this toolkit that we're putting together is exactly the kind of thing you're looking for as well. But we do tell people that you can't learn all about public art by sitting in a classroom or looking at slides or reading a book. You really need to engage with artists in the community and have hands-on experience. And you can do it yourself, as I showed you. You know, it isn't just people who have gone through some degree program that can come out of school and make the public art that's successful. I showed you several examples of self-taught artists or people who maybe don't even consider themselves artists doing really creative things in the public realm and helping other people, right? The Bubble Project, for example. I can create something online that people can download and put their own message out there in a public space. That's just one example. And I think more and more learning is going on by people going online and seeing what other people are doing. And I'm a firm believer that the center of this, conversation is starting to move online, and we're trying to get sort of a central role in that. So I'm very much all about sharing the stories about public art so that other people can find a connection for themselves and then go tell their own stories.
Well, and I think it's important, there is a lot of, like, if you're in public art review, and there are a lot of public art anthologies too that really delve into the whole philosophical context of public art.
Mhm.
What is public? What does it mean to engage? How do we want to foster dialogue among the public and the kind of connection that talks about. So a bibliography,
A glossary of terms, a bibliography, yes. In fact, you can go to our website right now and go to a button that says library thing. The 1,000 books we have in our resource library are all there, and you can browse through our entire bookshelf on our website. But we also will have a bibliography on our website with this toolkit and a glossary of terms because, what does site-specific mean? What does the GSA? What does the CETA stand for? All of those things. There is a vocabulary, and it needs to be shared. And there also needs to be a language about public art that's outside the box that we don't really know yet. What would a librarian say is the cataloging definition for an artist who uses a steamroller to make prints with kids in a park? Or dancers on the back. Yeah, well, how do you catalog that? What are the categories you would look under? Or the dancers on the back of a flatbed truck, okay? It's not the same as how you define a painting or a sculpture. They already have vocabulary for those things. So one of the things that we're working on, and it's called WRAP, Web Resources for Art in Public, is about trying to develop a shared vocabulary that will help with web searches. So when you are looking for something really specific and narrow in this field that seems to be really broad and growing out of control, where artists are redefining public art every day, this will hopefully help you find what you're looking for a lot faster than having to go to 50 different websites or maybe never finding exactly what you're looking for. And it's a very exciting international effort that's happening. In fact, I should tell you, I'm leaving Thursday to go to the University of Shanghai. I was invited there to help them develop an international public art project as a advisor. And I found out they have a Chinese public art magazine. I didn't even know about it. Of course, I can't read it, but the idea that maybe content could be shared back and forth and then online is really exciting to me, and that we might help influence